Hey, everybody. Welcome to this Spark Live. I'm here by myself today. Taylor is in a class and has been in that class all week long. So I'm sure he'd rather have a break and join me. But as it is, I don't think he's going to be able to. So we're going to be talking about something today that is one of those subjects in digital marketing that has evolved quite a bit over the past decade and a half. So we're going to talk about blog posts and what you need on your website, but more specifically, how to write a really good one. So as you're coming in, I'd appreciate it if you just give us a thumbs up or a like or a heart or something, just to let us know that you're in the audience. And, that way you get to participate with us and helping us share the good word about our show and what we're doing. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you doing that. Thanks, Terry. Appreciate it. And Stacy Ridgway and Linda Roydhouse, thank you guys for being on today. Okay, so we are talking about blog posts. First of all, let's answer this question. Do you really need a blog post? If you've hung around us at all, then you know that that answer is an unqualified yes. But let's just talk about kind of the history of blogging. I mean, blogging, putting out posts to talk about various things was a form of post or a form of web content that it's about 15, 16 years old, maybe a little bit older than that now. And during that time, it's really evolved, right? I mean, it used to be a very personal thing that you would do. You would create a blog. It stood for weblog. So you were literally, it was almost like a public diary of just your own thoughts and ideas and feelings about stuff. And but then people started to say, you know what, this has got application for business. A business should have a blog, and it's a great place to put content. And Google said, yeah, content's great. Content's king. We love content. So yes, businesses should absolutely talk about what they do. Well, what Google may have not realized, or at least in hindsight came to discover, was that I've got this statistic here. I don't know where it comes from, so I apologize if I'm sharing something that's not factually accurate, but I trust Taylor, and he made this note and said that there are 547,200 websites a day, new websites being added to the interwebs. So you can imagine, with over 500,000 websites every day hitting the internet. And that's a website, right? That's not a new page. And Google indexes pages. So every website may have dozens of pages, may have hundreds of pages, may have thousands of pages, and Google indexes those pages. So Google thought that the best answer and the best solution for the new internet was to fill it with content. And so people started blogging and blogging and blogging and blogging, and it was just like this regurgitation of the same stuff over and over and over again. I mean, we were told back in the day as digital marketers that the strategy was it was more about quantity than anything else. The game was, how many blog posts can you put up? And so we would there's this, we in the industry, we call it article spinning. I mean, we would literally take an article that was written about, let's just say, how to fix a leaky faucet, and we would spin it, or we would sit and think about how many ways we could write about that same exact thing. And, we were writing short blog posts then, and that was, it was, again, just a matter of getting stuff out there. Well, guess what? It garbage in, garbage out, right? So the more of that kind of posting was done on the web, the less valuable any of the content became. And it was hard to find good content. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. And Google has always been good at getting good stuff to surface to the top. But Google was realizing that its own advice, it was a victim of its own advice, because it was becoming harder and harder to find really good content with so much junk blog posts that were of little value. They were just done as part of an SEO strategy. And so Google has really changed its tune. So to answer the question, do you really need a blog post? The answer is yes, but Google's advice now is, if you have a business blog, then take a blog post and talk about one of your services, and then use a different blog post to talk about a different service. And then do that until you've talked about all of your services, and then don't blog about your services anymore. Don't create spun articles or blog posts that are just basically regurgitating and saying the same thing in different ways over and over and over again. So now the idea is, this is a pro tip, first one, blog once about the things that you do, and then find supporting topics, right? Things that are related to what you do, that lead nicely, dovetail and segue into those things that you do professionally and hint at your expertise, but aren't necessarily an advertisement for XYZ service, right? So this is a strategy that you can use to make sure that Google is saying, it's not just the sheer volume. We're not looking for a wall of content anymore. We're looking for really good, thoughtful articles that cover all of the things that you do and speak to the fact that you have a lot of depth and experience around all of those things that you do. So real quick, just give a shout out to Chimney Monkey. Thanks for being on. Chuck Roydhouse, thank you as well for being on and for giving us a like and a thumbs up. Much appreciated. Terry has a question. I have a blog site, but I don't use it as a marketing tool, but as an educational tool. I can email a blog post to a customer so I can save time from explaining an issue. I love this. From explaining an issue on the phone, my blog posts supplement what I discuss with the customer on the phone. 100%. Gold star. I love that. That is brilliant. And because you're in your business and hearing those frequently asked questions all the time, you can write those blog posts in a way that sound exactly like the customer's question that they're going to ask. And they're going to ask because you've heard it 100 times, right? So you're anticipating what you can write to answer those questions that you constantly hear. I can't think of a better time saver, and it's something that creates a lot of credibility with your customer when they're considering working with you, than to say, well, one of our experts wrote an article about this very thing, and it's on our blog. Here, just give me your email address and I'll send it to you. Love that, Terry. That's great. She says, yeah, exactly. I base my blog posts on what questions I get from my phone calls. Very good. So you're already writing good blog posts. That's great. So hopefully some of these ideas we're going to share are going to sharpen your toolkit even more, or the tools in your toolkit. All right. So how do I find good topics to write about? Well, Terry just answered that. The first way is by listening to your customers and hearing the questions that they have. Every one of those questions that they ask, especially the ones that are frequently asked, are great fodder for a blog post. So as far as a topic goes, right? I mean, it may be that the question that they have is a great question, not because it's so knowledgeable, but because it's so ignorant, right? I mean, there's no shame in being ignorant. It just means you don't know something yet. So the question may be phrased in a way that wouldn't be how you would say it as a chimney pro at all, but it's exactly the way that your customer is thinking about their chimney system. And by using their language, the way that they would phrase the question, you can really shortcut, direct contact with the brain cells in the customer's heads that you want to get into, because, that's exactly how they would say it. I mean, the terminology that we use as professionals in marketing is rarely the terminology that our customers use to describe what we do for them. Okay, so what we have to do is understand and learn how they talk about what we do, so that we can better communicate with other people about digital marketing. So the same is true in the chimney industry. The same is true in any industry that has any iota of technicality to it. So finding the topics, good topics to write about. Ask your employees. They probably hear those questions too, and probably hear some in the field that are different than the ones that you might get in the office, because now they're being exposed to the work that's being done while the technician is there, and so their questions are more about, well, why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you doing it that way? Or why would you do this instead of that? Or those kinds of things. So those are all great topics for blog posts. Something else that I think is a great subject for a blog post, or a great topic, or a great way of approaching a blog post maybe, is by telling a good story. I mean, stories just are a fact of human existence. We are wired as human beings to listen, and I mean, our brain lights up in ways that nothing else. A story causes our brain to light up in ways that nothing else does, and stories are the way that we've communicated for as long as we've been around and able to communicate. We've told stories, and we tell stories to keep important things front and center. We tell stories to illustrate important things. We tell stories to drive home a point that we believe is really important. And the same is true for our businesses as well in communicating with customers. You can tell a story about how there were 575 chimney fires in the greater Atlanta area in 2021. But you could also tell the story and drive home the point more by talking about one of those fires and the family that was impacted by it, and how scared they were when they woke up in the middle of the night to smoke and flames. And, you know what I'm saying? Now, suddenly we're putting real, meat on those bones. We're telling a story in a compelling way that we listen to and understand and really internalize. And that kind of story can really have an impact on people's lives much faster and much more directly. I mean, when I say directly, I mean speaking right to our brain, right? I mean, because like I said, we're wired for story. Something in our brains just absolutely needs the narrative, not just the facts and figures. And so a story is a great way to do that. If you guys have ideas, think about stories that you have encountered with your clients. Think about their stories that they've told you over the years about their chimneys, or their the services that they've had from other people, or what their dreams are for what they'd like to have, and how you've been able to make that possible, right? Those are all good connecting stories. Think about those kinds of stories and write them down. Just keep a journal or a notepad or a file on your computer with these kinds of story ideas that you can go to and draw from when you need to write. Okay, 6 examples of different types of blog posts. I want you to, as I go through these, be thinking about what you do and what you know, and the stories that you've encountered in your business with your employees and with your customers, and see how they might fit into these kinds of blog posts. Okay, these are just structural ways of writing a blog post, to write one that's really good, that connects with people and gives them what they want in a quick and efficient and effective way. All right, the first kind of blog post is the expert blog post. This is a chance for you to put on your expert hat, to talk about the knowledge that you've gained over years of doing what you do, and talk about it in a way that takes complex, expert level technical things and condenses it and draws it down into something that the consumer, the homeowner, a very untechnical and uneducated person about what you do, to put it in language that they can understand. Okay. And what that does is it builds credibility. The purpose of an expert post is just that. It's to paint you as an expert, to show just how much expertise you have. That's very attractive to a business, to a consumer and a homeowner who doesn't know who to go to for you, the services that you provide. And by showing that you're the person that has that expertise, it justifies the price that you'll charge, right? They're going to push back less because they know that you're an expert. They're going to assume that because you're an expert, you know what you need to know, or you know what this really costs and why it needs to be done the way that it needs to be done. So an expert post is a great way of doing that. Number 2, the list-based post. This is, you can think about when you're scrolling through Facebook or you're looking at articles in, a magazine or whatever. It's the 10 ways to beat blah, 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 or, 7 things to never do when X, Y, and Z, right? So it's a list-based post. It's a promise in the headline that says if you read this article, you're going to get this many different ideas or different, points about this topic. And it's usually something that is, the headline is written in a way that it's very interesting. And the article itself or the blog post itself is written in a way that's very easy to consume. Lists are easy to skim. They're easy to scan with your eyes and just quickly get the points, right? It's not paragraph after paragraph and trying to read. It's just looking for, some quick ideas, some things that would connect with me. Good examples of this for, especially for chimney sweeps and chimney sweep businesses would be things like, the 5 best kinds of firewood in, this market or whatever, in our town, and talk about the 5 types of firewood that are commonly found, what the advantages of each one of them are. You can rank them. You could do some things like that to talk about. And these are the kinds of posts that end up getting shared a lot, which is one of the reasons that, you might want to think about doing a list-based post now and then. These are the kinds of things that a news organization might pick up or link to because it's immediately helpful. It doesn't take much time to read, and it just gets to the heart of something really quickly. So list-based posts are great for that reason. Maybe top 5 mistakes homeowners make when buying a home with a fireplace. I don't know. I'm kicking some ideas around here. So if you have ideas, throw them in the comments. If this is if these kinds of posts are stimulating thoughts for you, let me know. Number 3, the best of post. So this is again kind of a list, but it's specifically around like a curated collection of things that you want to present to your customers. So, a customer is daunted. They go to their local hearth store and they see all of these fireplace models. They see all of these gas log sets. They have no idea what is best for their home, whether any of them would work with their, chimney or whatever. And they're looking at all the beautiful stuff, but they don't know what they can do with it or anything. So, or which ones are good quality. That's another thing. So a best of post might be something like the top 5 fireplace inserts or the top 5 wood burning stoves of 2022. And you can just go through and pick 5 that are well respected, been around, or have been popular this year, things that you're hearing from people, and talk about what the highlights are. And in that, you can talk about how this particular stove is great for this kind of house or this kind of application where space is limited or whatever. But you can drill in a little bit there and share additional information along with those best ofs. These again are people love to click on them to learn because everybody wants the best, right? And they want to know that what they're getting is the best. And they want opinions from people who have expertise to understand what's the best. And so people will click and read these, and they'll oftentimes share these with other people because they want to be the person who is responsible for sharing the best with other people, right? To be the one who gets the credit for delivering something to someone that's got tremendous value. So the best of posts are really good, and they don't take a whole lot of time either. Based on your expertise, you could probably quickly come up with a list of best ofs and write one of those. These are good to do annually too. You could even look at all of the jobs that you've done for a particular year and do an annual, right around the beginning of the year or the end of the year, do maybe an end of the year wrap up of the best chimney place facelifts. I'm sorry, fireplace facelifts that we did in 2022, right? And take pictures. You have to have permission from the customers that you're using their photos, and they have to give you that written permission to do it. But who wouldn't love to be featured in an article on your website as one of the best jobs of the year, right? That you're proud of and that delivered a really beautiful result. And man, talk about people getting a fire under them to think about using you to do their dream project. And that's the kind of post that could really do that. So best of posts are great for that. All right, moving on from 3 to number 4, the newsjacking post. So every day stuff happens that's related to your industry. And every day that news comes across and you read it and you shake your head or you think, wow, that's really important or that's good to know. Well, that news could be fodder for blog posts that you can do, right? Hijack the news post, link to it and say, I just came across this article the other day in such and such magazine. Here's a link to that. In the article, he talks about this, that, and the other. And I just wanted to call attention to that because of these reasons and expand on what that article had to say, right? So you're using it as a launching point. You're associating yourself with, who knows, New York Times or Southern Living Magazine or something like that. I mean, a really well-done article in a well-known place by a well-known author, and you're coming along and commenting on that and adding additional information. That's a good way to build credibility in the minds of your customers, but also to help them understand why what was said in that article was important in ways they may not have thought about. So a good example of this would be local news covers a chimney fire. And so you link to the local news post and you talk about how this kind of news devastates you every time you see it because you've been in so many homes and prevented so many of these kinds of tragedies from happening that you hate to see when somebody has this happen when it didn't need to happen. You can talk about common problems that lead to these kinds of fires and, encourage people to have them looked at. And that's a great way to newsjack a post or create a post out of a news story. It doesn't always have to be sad things either. It can be pleasant and happy things too. Stay away from politics, though. I'll just tell you, politics and religion have no place in a business blog post. All right. Okay. Number 5. I've got 2 more here. The infographic post. This is probably one that is a little more complicated to put together because it really relies on good graphics, and it relies on somebody creating a graphic that is done in a way that relays information. They call them infographics. Usually it's an illustration of something or shows a process. So there may be a lot of arrows and diagrams and things drawn here and there. It could be a lot of statistics on the infographic about various things all related to something. But oftentimes that infographic needs to be created by somebody. There's great services out there that can create infographics fairly quickly and inexpensively. A lot of them use templates, infographic templates that are available. You can check out places like 99 Designs. Fiverr is great for infographics. So you can check out these places and find a graphic designer that can pull one of these together for you really quickly. But you've got to have good information, good facts, good figures, research into putting this together. We've done infographics about a whole host of things in different industries. In the chimney industry, we've done one on the best kinds of firewood. It was a beautiful infographic, and it showed, all these different kinds of wood, 5 different kinds of wood, and then talked about the pros and cons of each kind of wood and what they were good for, and you know, talked about a few other things related to firewood, the fact that you only want to source local firewood, the fact that it needs to be seasoned properly and what that means and all of that. So it was a great post, but it was very graphical. It was just a beautiful graphic that had all that information in it. We've done a lot of other different ones as well. This is a good one. It's very shareable. And you'll notice that that's a theme with me as a marketer is I want to create content that not only helps the person who reads it, but has a chance of being shared with other people because it was so helpful. So if I can create something that gets shared in social media or gets shared in a bulletin board for a neighborhood or, that kind of a thing, then I've expanded my reach using a piece of content to get into other markets or into other arenas where I didn't pay to get, right? It's free advertising. So I'm always thinking about what would be a very social, shareable content. So infographic posts are great for that reason. Go to the comments real quickly. Terry has a great question. What program do you use for infographic posts? Canva? Yeah, I love Canva for infographics. I haven't personally designed any in Canva, but I've seen that they have a lot of templates available. And that is a good place to do one if you want to do it yourself. If you want to just pay somebody to do it, a graphic designer that knows how to generate these and do a good job at it, there are definitely marketplaces out there that you can get one done for a lot less money than you might imagine, like $25 to $50. Somebody will put together. You just need to provide them with the information that needs to go on it and maybe a couple of design cues about what you're wanting, and then they'll go to town and generate something for you. So consider that as well. But yeah, Canva's good. There's some other software out there, different websites that provide hundreds of different templates, and they're just for creating infographics. These are usually for more academic kinds of infographics, though, that are very dense with statistics and numbers and charts and graphs and things like that. So yeah, but look around. Canvas seems to be a good place. I like that recommendation for sure. Okay, number 6. This is the last one. The how-to post. It's like, duh. You might not think, though, that this is a good idea for a business. Like, why would I tell people how to do what I do and then they don't need me? What I've learned, here I am on a video talking to a whole lot of people about digital marketing and how to write a brilliant blog post. Well, guess what? Our company does brilliant blog posts for a living. I mean, we make money doing this as a service for people. So why on earth would I tell people that this is something that they need to do and here's how to do it, when I would rather that they just come and spend money with me? Well, the answer is very simple. When you share your expertise with people, it builds trust, it builds credibility, and many people just don't want to do it themselves. Once they realize what it's going to take, they would rather hire somebody. And they'll be thankful that you showed them everything that goes into it and saved them the hassle of even starting down that road, and instead just picking up the phone and calling you. So it's absolutely something that you should think about doing. Don't be afraid to give away your knowledge. It's one of the best things to do to build trust with your consumers. And consumers, when it comes to service businesses, oftentimes that's where trust really needs to be built. There is a lack of trust among homeowners with service providers like plumbers and electricians and people that come into their home. They're scared to death that you guys are going to come in there and make a mess. They're scared that you're going to leave them high and dry with a started project that never gets finished. They're scared you're going to damage their property. There's a whole lot of stuff there. And you have a way by sharing your knowledge and information with them, and even telling them how to do it if they wanted to, it really brings that stress down. And they really start to trust that you're somebody that can do a good job for them. So I'm all about sharing my knowledge with people, and I'll share my knowledge with anyone that asks, because I know that number one, it's helpful to them, and hopefully this has been helpful to you, but also because I know that it ends up being business for me later. So I have no problem doing that at all. So that how-to post is a great way to do it. How to season firewood, how to inspect your fireplace for cracks, your exterior of your fireplace for foundation cracks, or whatever it may be, right? Simple things that they can do just to see a problem. And it may not be that you're helping them fix the problem in that post. Like I wouldn't ever, I don't know that I'd ever sit very long to read an article on how to tuck point, but I'd certainly read one about how to find cracks that in places I may not think to look, and discover whether or not they're bad enough to have to call somebody. Like this size crack in this kind of place is probably not something you need to worry about, but this kind of crack in this kind of place, definitely give somebody a call. I would read that article because I'd want to know. So anyway, those are some ideas for how to create killer blog posts that really get eyeballs and have the possibility of being shared. So I hope that's been valuable to you today. Thanks everybody for being on. Bonnie, thank you for joining and for giving us a thumbs up as well. And thank you all for your questions and being with us every single week. I'll just let you know that you can also get the podcast now, or get this video as a podcast, an audio podcast after the fact, yet in Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. You can also rewatch this video on social media. Hopefully we've made it easy for you to be able to even share that with other people if you think there'd be value for them, other business owners that that might find value in this kind of content. And then next week we are talking about, we're doing the Q&A next week. Awesome. So join us. We got we keep a list of questions, and we just pick 4 or 5 from the list and go through those every single week, or every single time that we do the Q&A. So this is the monthly Q&A coming up next week. And then the following week is Thanksgiving. And so we'll be doing a pre-recorded one, or a rerun maybe for that. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you again right here next time.